mother of Caroline Lovett's nephew, speaks out after ICE arrest. I think what I would have to say to Caroline is just because you went to a Catholic school doesn't make you a good Catholic. Yeah, siding with people that actively oppress minority groups doesn't really seem like something that's very Christian to me. I can't lie. Supreme Leader Poopy Diaper. We have to be unified. This is coming from probably the most divisive president of our time. China is unified because they have one vote. That's President Xi. He says do it, and that's the end of that. We have a different system though. Yes, it's called democracy. Well, here's the thing, MAGA has no true ideals. It's just whatever they want at the time. They may preach that they're so pro-democracy and are the only party defending it, when actually, when it becomes convenient, they go from so pro-democracy to wanting a fascist, totalitarian dictatorship. The first reporter to speak up, interrupt, and call Trump out to his face while he's berating, insulting, and personally attacking another female reporter for no reason will be a national hero. Yeah, you may lose access, but you will be a legend forever. At some point, someone has to. That's right, I don't see why people are still trying to be complicit to this fucking man-child. Here's a good example for you. Would you let your 5-year-old randomly insult, berate, or call names to a random person for no real reason? Oh, you wouldn't let your 5-year-old child do that? So why would you let the president do that? I think it's time to actually speak up, because I don't think we should be having more standards for 5-year-old children than we do the president. And speaking of Trump having no standards, he is now apparently running an astounding, even for him, 90 whole minutes late for his scheduled 3 PM bill signing event. The man-child-in-chief doesn't need to be on time. You know, he's got rage posting on his shitty Truth Social app to do, and he needs to call more female reporters names because they asked questions. Dear Democrats, number 1, this would cause a civil war. Number 2, our side has so many more guns. Yeah, go on, try having another civil war. It will definitely work out this time. Crazy how much Republicans melt down when Democrats return 1/10 of the energy that they give us. I like how they taunt a civil war as if they won the last one. They won't win the next one if they start it either. If we're talking along party lines, then let's remember red states don't have the financials to fund themselves every year, let alone a prolonged fight with an enemy. The big reason why the Confederacy lost is because the lacking of resources to fight a war in the long run. They had an agricultural-based economy that relied on free labor. Cities like New Orleans and Atlanta had some industry, but definitely not enough to even come close to what New York, Boston, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, etc. could do. When they lost at Gettysburg, their only hopes of England and France choosing them also vanished. Erica Kirk shaming mums for taking an hour for Pilates while she's on TV every single day is peak fucking hypocrisy. Well, yeah, it is the party of hypocrites after all. What do you really expect? With the latest mass shooting at Brown University, this might be a good time to mention that Bill Clinton's assault weapons ban reduced mass shooting deaths by 43%. But after George W. Bush and Republicans let it expire, mass shooting deaths spiked by 239%. Guess what? It's the fucking guns. But what are we supposed to do if our country gets taken over by fascists? I dunno, America. What are you supposed to do when your country gets taken over by fascists? Well, by the looks of it, apparently a good chunk of the country cheering them on. You know, all the apparent people that needed those guns so badly to fight against fascism. Not like they'd side with the fascists when push actually comes to shove. Either vote them out and hope they actually leave power, or get armed and remove them and hope the military's on our side. Otherwise, we're stuck with fascism. There's not a ton of options. A Democratic woman flipped a scene in the deep red state of Florida. That is how much Trump has pissed people off. What do you mean? According to MAGA, his approval ratings have never been better, and everyone loves what Trump does. And the only people who don't are those bad woke liberals. Everyone else loves him. Breaking news, Eileen Higgins becomes the first Democrat-elected Miami mayor in 30 years. Hey chat, if you guys want to see more of this gay guy reading stuff, you should totally like, subscribe and share, and also press that weird hype button. It does something apparently, because it helps a lot. Anyways, thanks for watching, and back to the video. Hegseth sent a classified memo to military members saying that they will be given blanket immunity for following illegal orders. Is that just a self-report? And I don't think you can be pardoned for international war crimes. You know, just like missiling a boat because you want to, when standard practice was to capture the boats. This administration belongs on the world's dumbest criminals list, I swear to God. Do presidential pardons work at the international level? So, like, Hitler could have just pardoned himself? Asking for an orange felon. Well, the US are not members of the ICC for some reason. Speaking of the ICC, just to show you how much America really cares about international law and, you know, accountability, you should look into something called the American Service Members Protection Act, which authorizes the US to use military force to free American or Allied personnel that get arrested by the International Criminal Court for war crimes. So yeah, that's really promising to me about how much America in general actually, you know, cares about not committing international war crimes, and especially considering that, how much Trump's just not gonna give a shit. War crimes fall under what is known as a universal jurisdiction, which means that any nation can, in theory, prosecute any war crime, even if those crimes weren't committed by or against a national under the ordinary jurisdiction of that court. Obviously, in practice, this regime would go apeshit if some other country tried to exercise that universal jurisdiction. All to say, it doesn't require the US to recognize the ICC. Well, seeing that there's a law that's literally nicknamed the Hague Invasion Act, I wouldn't be too sure if the regime would let themselves be tried for war crimes. It only works if we let them. For a group of people who think rules don't apply for them, it's funny how they think others will obey where they don't. There's many ways to invalidate. Say it was written with an autopen. Say it was done in accordance of a crime. Hell, send ice after them to intimidate them. Reporter. So, what happens to the oil on the ship? This is referring to an oil tanker that was recently raided and captured by the Trump regime for having sanctioned oil, allegedly. Keep in mind, the US themselves calling it essentially illegal, sanctioned, bad oil, basically. Trump, we keep it, I guess. Ah yes, the best way to deal with sanctioned oil. Steal it. And the ship. I've been taking stuff for years and not paying for it because I'm a smart businessman. I just found out you can just take ships full of precious cargo too. It's a new fancy word called piracy. No one was using the word piracy until I started using it. I am a genius. It's an old term, but basically it means you're taking cargo. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned word, and piracy is up bigly. Make no mistake, Trump seized that oil tanker from Venezuela to provoke them into an act of war. He wants them to attack us so he can bombard them to hell and justify going to war and stealing their oil. This is Putin 101. pretty obvious that the only reason the US sees that tank over in Venezuela is because Democrats are flipping basically every seat that hasn't been gerrymandered unwinnable. How is it that we're able to locate and make accurate hits on small defenseless boats, but we're unable to locate the Epstein files? Well, because there are no white people on the boats, but there are in the Epstein files. American weapons aren't made for attacking rich white people.